Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we enter uncharted territory in the history of our dedicated video game platforms. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including some cleanup on the Nintendo Direct from last week. And then on Thursday, we're going to be discussing our favorite games from 5, 10, 20, and 30 years ago. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. So we're going to do this topic this week.
It's going to happen.
Assuming there's not another Nintendo presentation that gets in the way.
You think there's going to be like another blockbuster Nintendo Direct that we lose our minds about? And we have to record another like 80-minute
That'd be really funny.
just about that?
You know, like sometimes like music artists will, they'll have two albums.
Yes.
And one they'll release with a lot of fanfare, and then the other one it just
comes out.
Just a couple of like months or weeks later,
Yeah.
They're like, hey, by the way, we also recorded this other album. It'd be really funny if Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct,
right?
And then
this
week we're
another
like
Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, they were
Shadow
secret surprise.
Yes.
Nintendo
No, that's
Direct.
Good. Well, because like,
and then none for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Just like two up front. We got exhausted. That's all you get.
I do like the idea that like we are, as Nintendo fans, we're too plugged in. We can't be surprised. Like the only way to do it is to like reinvent the way you deploy these things. I think they could do it.
It's true.
I think if anyone could, it's them. Mark, but there are other big things happening in the world of Nintendo right now.
Yeah.
Including this Friday, Super Nintendo Land, Super Nintendo World, sorry. I accidentally referred to the portable version of it, evidently. Super Nintendo World is opening at Universal Studios Hollywood. And Mark, we're going to go.
Not on the 17th,
Not on the 17th. I'm just saying it opens on the 17th.
Right, it opens on the 17th.
Yes.
We're going to be going on Sunday, February 26th. And because it's not that far away, we're not going to do like a formal get-together or meet-up or anything like that.
Right.
But we're going to be there all day and enjoying Super Nintendo World and the rest of the fine offerings at Universal Studios Hollywood.
I am going on that Jurassic World ride. You haven't been on it yet, right?
I have been on it.
Oh, you have been on it.
I have been on it, yeah. But if you are also at Universal Studios Hollywood on the 26th, we would love to meet up with you.
Yeah, so hit us up on the Discord. We are in there. Let us know if you're going to be there. No, again, it's not a like formal meetup or anything like that. We don't have anything planned.
Right.
But if you're going to be there, just let us know. It'd be cool to say what's up.
Yeah, we would love to meet anyone who happens to be there.
Yes. Mark, we have launched a Patreon, and we're doing cool stuff over there, and we just want people to know about it and get involved if that is something that interests you. You can support us at the $4, $8, or $16 a month level. At 8 and above, you get bonus episodes of a show that we're working on right now. We are in the midst of NCS Detective Club. It's a show where we are watching classic detective shows and talking about them, and having a great time. But the idea is that we'll be doing these mini-series, and so after we do NCS Detective Club, we'll be doing something else, and you can help decide what those will be. Yeah, we'll be coming out with a poll in a couple months. This is too much information too soon. We'll be coming out with a poll in a couple months to help, with some options, and you can help drive the direction of those episodes going forward.
But the important part is that you can support the show, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, and there are some other great rewards that you can go check out there.
Yep. And speaking of rewards and stuff that has to do with us, you can join our Discord, but it is an invite only. No riffraff in there, only invited folk. So you just got to email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and we will send you an invite, and then you can come on in and have great conversations with people all the time about what they're doing on their Switch. All right, Mark, are you ready to talk about what we've been playing this week?
Yeah, let's do
I
it.
want to skip us all the way to the news. It's too early for that. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Tetris 99 ticket update.
I kind of feel like we need theme music just for this.
Just for this?
Just for like the Tetris 99 ticket update. Dun 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 dun.
I thought it was gonna be like a dun 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 dun.
In this,
yes.
In this geopolitical climate, I don't think so.
All right, due to certain world events,
that's right.
We are changing the music to like a 60 minutes kind of thing. We need a ticking clock. That's what we need.
That's right.
The Tetris 99 ticket update, I now have 574.
Very nice. I've been playing Metroid Prime Remastered. Shadow dropped at the Nintendo Direct last week.
Yes.
Put aside everything else I was playing, even considering
your
playing.
job,
my job,
your husband.
That's right. It has been, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. I can't remember the last time I played Metroid Prime, the original.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't own a Wii U, so I didn't pick up the trilogy.
Right, that was on Wii, but yeah.
Oh yeah, well I didn't pick it up there either. And so it's been a really long time since I played it, and it looks really good on Switch. And I had forgotten what a masterpiece the original Metroid Prime is.
Yeah.
I did not like 2 and 3 all that as much. But 1 is so
one is like nicely simple. Like 2 starts to complicate it with like you sort of have 2 versions of everything, like a light version and a dark version. And being in that dark world is just a stone cold
not
bummer.
Fun.
And yeah, 3 is where like you sort of start to embrace some of the like here are other characters, and you're like flying the ship by like moving the Wii remote around and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's like a lot of, especially in the beginning, a lot of like, oh, your fellow, like, I mean, I guess not fellow, but like, there's all this like military, like soldier, industrial complex stuff going on in the other ones. Anyways, all that is beside the point. The first one is so good, and one thing, especially having played Metroid Dread not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, is how different Metroid Prime is from like Metroid Dread, because Metroid Prime, or like a lot of the classic Metroid games, is that Metroid Prime is so much slower and more deliberate, but not in like a slow as in, oh, this is boring, more in a you really explore the areas. Scanning things with your like scan visor is how you learn so much of the lore. So if you're interested in that, you're rewarded for really taking your time and looking at all the environments and finding areas you can scan. If you don't care, you don't need that information.
You can just blast on through.
One of the things I really dislike in video games is the feeling of being lost. Like trying to just kind of like find my way through something is not fun to me at all. And so a lot of times I will use guides for games, but I have not found the need to use a guide for Metroid Prime because I feel like it is really good about giving you freedom to explore, but also when you hit a dead end, it's very clear and you're like, I know that there is something like a door or something that I'm missing, and I just need to go back and find it. But especially in the beginning, I'm still on like the first planet. But
it's all on Talon 4, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's just like the first area.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah.
Or no. So I just got to Fendrana Drift. Yeah. And so anyways, the game is just so good. I had forgotten how good it is. The music is amazing. The atmosphere is amazing. Mm-hmm. It looks incredible on Switch. Highly, highly, highly recommend.
Since we are talking about Metroid and there's like a renewed interest in Metroid, I do just want to bring up the great band Metroid Metal that does like heavy metal covers of all the Metroid music. They do a lot of Prime music, as you might assume, including like a really kickin' Fendrana Drifts. So look up Metroid Metal. You will not be disappointed.
Also, I need to do a little bit of a debug. So last week when we were talking about it, in our reactions to the Direct, I mentioned that there were new dual stick controls. plus a more classic control scheme. And I mentioned I wasn't sure if there were motion controls like they had for the Wii versions, and I can confirm there are motion controls. Plus, you have the ability to... It's a little bit weird how they implemented it, just like finding it, but it works great. It's how I'm playing, is you turn on... I'm playing with dual stick, but then in the camera settings, you can turn on like camera plus gyro. And so you get like a little bit of extra...
Yeah.
And it works...
Just that like fine tuning.
It works perfectly. I love it so much. It's really good. Also, so the game is out now digitally, but we'll be releasing it in a few weeks physically. And Patrick was right. I was wrong. Patrick, you were saying that the digital version, and presumably the physical version would be $40. I was like, no. There's no way they're going to charge more for the physical version.
Oh.
They're not. It's $40 across the board.
I have no memory of saying that.
Okay,
I'll take the W.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And then I think we've both have been messing around a little bit with the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance Nintendo Switch Online games.
Yeah, I didn't really play...
I have not played much either.
Anything. Yeah. The only thing I wanted to find out was, again, in the reaction episode, I wasn't sure if they included the rewind features.
They do.
But they do, which is such a relief. And I still hope and pray that someday... There must be a technical reason they don't do it on the Nintendo 64 Switch Online, but someday I hope we get that update.
It feels like an oversight, because literally there are 6 libraries on there now, and the Nintendo 64 is the only one that doesn't have rewind.
Maybe it's because, like, the way that...
Are they just not holding that much, like, historical, 30 seconds of your last movements?
It just doesn't... Yeah, or is it because you hold R2 or ZR and ZL in those games,
but they add the extra buttons on the Nintendo 64 controller to do it. Yeah, I'm just not sure.
Hopefully someday, but it is nice that they have it on the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance.
Mark, I went right away to Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3, so I could play those e-reader levels. And the first couple e-reader levels, the first like 5 or 6 of them, are just Super Mario Brothers 1 levels remade in Super Mario Brothers 3, which was fun. But I was like, why am I doing this? But I'm looking forward to like going back and really digging into the rest of those levels. But then I'm not really sure where I'm going to go next.
I am so interested in this Alone in the Dark game.
Yeah. Okay, great.
But can I ask about this the Super Mario Brothers Advance 4, Super Mario Brothers 3? How do you access the e-reader levels?
It's like one of the options right away.
Got it.
You
okay.
can either like start a new game or go to the e-reader levels.
But you have to start. You can't select any of the levels on the e-reader screen. Like, do you have to start at level 1-1 or whatever it's called?
No. Okay. There's like a whole menu of them, but because there's a whole menu and like a little like emblem that appears saying that like you beat it, I was like, well, I'm going to start at the beginning.
Oh, got it. But they're all available from the beginning.
They're all available from the beginning. I think actually like they're all listed there certainly, and I have to assume that I could have selected any of them because they weren't like grayed out or anything. But I started at the top and just started to work my way down.
Well, some of these questions I'm just asking for potential debug material next week.
So just you're setting traps for me, Mark. But so like there are so many like intriguing, interesting titles on especially the GBA library right now and coming in the future that are like kind of meaty experiences, right? There's like the Mario and Luigi game on there. There's Minish Cap. I guess Golden Sun isn't there yet, but like there are kind of a lot of games in there where I'm like, these could be a next like not just virtual console style like playthrough of like something slight, but like a real experience to dig into. And I'm just like, I don't know. I want to dig into one. I just haven't decided what yet.
It feels like
it's also very hard because I'm playing Fire Emblem and I'm excited to start Metroid.
Oh man, no, totally. It feels very unusual for February to have this kind of like just breadth of feels like new games to play and like things that I want to do. I want to look this up, just make sure I am saying the right person, but I think listener Palsy Pace in our Discord is playing through, is on a mission to play through all the Game Boy games, which is such a good idea because they're Game Boy games, so they're not that long. Like, this feels accomplishable.
Yeah, I mean, but like some of them are kind of like Super Mario Land 2 is like it's like a full game.
Yeah.
I mean, like 4 or 5 hours, but like it's still like that's a real game.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I just thought that was a fun idea. Like, I could.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
So Godspeed, Pulsey Pace. Mark, I have an announcement to make. I have watching this Nintendo Direct got me like excited about the future of the Switch, and it also got me being like, we're not going to see a new model of Switch for a while. Like they're doubling down on what they're offering on the current hardware, and they don't do that as their like that's not a death throes situation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't add services to a dying platform. So I bought a Switch OLED edition.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm sorry. I was just trying to like think what the appropriate reaction was. I feel like we need maybe like a song.
It's a solemn congratulations is what it is.
No, of course.
We need another song?
I was just thinking.
And then I'm going to sing the song and you're going to be like, we can't do that song in today's climate.
No, I was just thinking like maybe we like, because it's like, yeah, a song that's like consumerism.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Because
we're always celebrating buying things.
We are always celebrating buying things.
But anyways,
and I struggle with that. I really do. I struggle with how like
no. Let us not
okay,
rain.
great.
Let us not rain on this parade, Patrick.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I also got a 1 terabyte SD card because I was like, I don't want to. I've been deleting stuff from my Switch lately because I just have to make room for like Persona 5 Royal with all of its voice acting. Like, it's too big, even though it's half the size of how it appears on other platforms. In any event, I got the memory card and the Switch OLED, and I love the build of the new thing. Those white Joy-Con look great. So does the dock. That screen is so bright and vibrant. And I'm just saying things that people have known for 2 years, but it's all true.
So when I got mine a few months ago at this point?
It was this year.
Yeah, it was.
just a
So
couple
maybe
weeks
like
ago.
6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. I talked a little bit about how the setting up experience is a little bit awkward, or I found it a little bit awkward. What was your experience like?
No, I just followed the instructions, and it
Interesting.
didn't feel that awkward.
Curious.
To me. Here's something I am a little worried about, though. I did not go through the trouble of, because it's been so long, of transferring my island in Animal Crossing.
Oh, I didn't do that either.
So I think it's possible. I still have the old Switch, and I was going to go and like check up on it to see if like if it's still on there somewhere, if I can upload that through the like island transfer thing. I don't think it takes it automatically through.
You definitely have to do that separately.
You have to do that
but
separately.
I don't think you have to do it like the moment that you get. I think you could do it at any time. That would be crazy.
Sure.
If you have to transfer it, because you still, if you're using the same account, you still have 2 valid Switches. Just the island isn't shared between the 2. Right. So I'm pretty sure you can still do it.
So that's there was that, and then like one other thing that I wanted to do. But like, yeah, that is one. It's just weird where it's like you're backing up all the rest of this. Like, why don't you just back up the island? And I guess it's part of the they don't want you to like farm whatever and by save scumming it, but it's all dumb because it's effectively it's a non-competitive game. Who cares if you have an advantage over other players?
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about it.
And you can already cheat by time traveling, so like none of it matters.
How did you feel? Again, I'm just reflecting my experience on your own.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about getting the new Switch and not having your like legacy of games that you had previously downloaded and then removed?
Well, so I felt good having this like blank screen, but then I also got like a I need to get to work sort of so I went to the like the Switch store and like clicked on my little icon and like re-download, and I was like, everything that I'm going to want on the Switch I'm going to start downloading now. And then I just like set it up on the table while Sarah and I watched TV and just like checked in on it every now and then to make sure it was still downloading. being held up by its perfect little kickstand, which is so good. But yeah, no, like I want there, and there was the kind of stuff that was like, oh, I took the Overcooked games off of my Switch because I was, I needed room. I was like, no, these are going to be on here now that I've got this bigger memory card. Just stuff like that where I was like, these are games that I removed, but could see my, like could play at the drop of a hat. Because they're fun, like multiplayer games or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that I'm going to forget that I bought games and never played them.
Yeah,
because I had the Castlevania Advance collection on my old Switch,
right?
Just because at any moment I was going to start it,
right?
And then now I'm like, I wonder if I'll ever play that game ever because I'll have to remember to go download it.
Yeah, well, so like you go into the Switch store,
you can see everything you've purchased.
Yeah, so you don't have to like remember and like find it all one by one. There's also a way if you just go into settings and like data management or something along those lines, and you can re-download stuff that way too.
Oh,
or it's
okay.
actually it's from the I remember where it is. It's when you click on the that's right, you click on the little like all of your games are in a row, and you click on the thing to see like a wider view of them. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a re-download re-download.
Patrick, I have so few games on my Switch currently that I don't have
It's there.
Go to the bigger
if
screen.
If you go all the way to the right, there is a thing there.
I don't think there is because I only have like 4 games on there.
I know, but then you have empty square, empty square, empty square, empty square, empty square, empty square until you get like to the end of that line.
Oh,
maybe
I see.
12 empty squares or something. And then there'll be a single like circle with 4 squares in it.
I have been playing mostly in like handheld mode with the Switch recently, and the OLED screen is nice.
It makes a difference. Yeah, it absolutely does.
But that being said, I don't know why I feel like I have to give this disclaimer, maybe because we did our little consumerism jingle up at the top. If you don't have one, you're fine.
Oh, yeah, you're totally fine. But like, and I would have been fine too. I had been playing my launch day Switch.
Same, exactly. Right? It has been almost 7 years. And like you, Patrick, it did feel like the point where it's like, oh yeah, we're not getting new hardware this year.
Right.
And so I might as well go for it.
I have been playing a lot of Fire Emblem Engage on this thing. And the deeper I get into Fire Emblem Engage, the more I just think it's a great game.
Oh, that's great.
That like, look, I see the criticisms about the story. I also agree that the main character looks dumb. And then the pair of children characters that you meet immediately upon playing this game are the worst voice acted characters and the worst written characters in any Fire Emblem game I've ever played. But there are every new battle that I get into, the game's like, by the way, here are 3 new characters. And it's like, oh, I have so many of these guys, I gotta like juggle them. But I'm on like chapter 10 right now, I think, and then I've done a bunch of like paralogs and stuff. And I've got a crew that I love, right? Like all these characters that I'm like building up their individual abilities and their bonds with each other, their bonds with the main character, and I'm just like, I just dig it, and I'm just having a great time building those characters and getting into the like tactical battles and stuff. I love it.
How is Connor?
Connor's good. He's still. I don't know that I'm ever going to change him out of those sunglasses. Connor is my like cat dog thing that it lives on the floating island with us. He's wearing black sunglasses and like a little black bandana and a yellow ribbon on his butt. Yeah, no, he's good. he's good. I do like that every time I finish a chapter, they offer like something new to do on the floating island on the Somniel. Like making meals together or doing activities with other characters, or I really like there's the system by which you donate to the various kingdoms, and that increases like your connection with those lands, which means it improves your ability to adopt animals from those regions. So like I got all these like cats and pigeons and dogs and sheep and stuff living on my floating island. It's the best.
That's fun. Should Connor check be a segment, and should I have a theme song?
There's going to be no update. I am not changing him out of those sunglasses.
Fair.
Anyway, I'm all in on Fire Emblem Engage. I especially liked, Mark, you mentioned that after the Nintendo Direct, you had like something to do right away. And that is, I went right to the Hector paralog and like got that emblem which was a struggle because I still think I'm a little underleveled for it. But did it, and now I'm like back in the story, and then I'm gonna head back and like collect some of the other new emblems. It's just it's so cool that it's like here's new stuff to engage with in. I should not have said engage.
I like it. I think it's cute.
No,
I think it's cute.
You think it's cute? All right, Mark. That's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Woo!
Blanc is released.
You know what's tragic?
Tell me.
Is that we've seen Blanc in 3 consecutive Nintendo Directs, right?
Feels like it's been years we've been talking about Blanc.
It feels like it's been years since we started talking about Blanc. And every time we see it, I'm like, that looks cute. I'd like to play that. Now it's coming out, and I'm like, I got Fire Emblem. I got
timing.
Metroid. Like,
Totally.
You messed up.
Yep.
You messed up, Blanc.
This might be maybe the last time we ever talk about Blanc. But I will say this. If
bold claim.
If somebody,
do we need theme music for that?
Couldn't hurt. If somebody gets Blanc,
yes,
I would be very interested to hear impressions.
I would love to hear impressions of Blanc.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then on Thursday, February 16th, Fiat Rhythm Final Bar Line is released.
Yes, this is, of course, the Final Fantasy rhythm game. There's a demo for it that is available now. Your progress carries over into the main game and all that good stuff. Mark, I think I'm going to pick this up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, well, like I was reflecting on my experience playing the demo, and like sometimes being like a little bewildered by it, and also being like, there's no way I can ever engage with the like expert level of these tracks, but like it's good and it's fun, and the music is like chill or sometimes not chill, and very. I mean, it's good music. It's music I like, and if it's like something that I'm picking up like between sessions of other games, like I'm always looking for that kind of game, right? Like Tetris is that kind of game for me. Picross is that kind of game for me. And if it can just be something where I can like groove to some Final Fantasy tunes for a little while, like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'll be interested to hear like your continued experiences with it.
And I will be interested to share those with you. I don't think, or at least from the get-go, I'm not going to pick up the DLC tracks. And I know there is music in there that I want to hear, music that I like, but I think there's also a lot of stuff in there that I have zero familiarity with.
Right, some of the later Final Fantasy games, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, all the Final Fantasy games are in the in like the base game. Mm-hmm. It's I'm saying the
in the DLC.
Yeah, there's
the
like
DLC.
Stuff there that I don't think I'll really miss.
So. Got it. And then on Friday, February 17th, Tales of Symphonia Remastered is released.
I saw Tar this weekend. Just speaking of Symphonia. I really like Tar.
Well, there's a video game connection in that.
There is a video game,
yeah. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Laughed out loud at it. We're not actually going to say what the spoiler is.
No.
I laughed out loud at the video game connection at the end of Tar. Tales of Symphonia, is that something that you're interested in, or
in a different time, maybe? I just don't think I have room in my heart for anything other than Metroid Prime Remastered.
Well, all right, Mark. Those are the new releases. Let's close this segment out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I'll talk about something not at all Nintendo-related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, I think we've got a double challenge in front of us today.
Yeah, so first of all, last week we guessed the Disney movie based on First Lines, as suggested by May Say Ace in our Discord, and I got the name wrong last week, so I wanted to get it right.
Yeah.
And I will say, if I'm ever saying your name and I get it wrong, I want to get it right. So if you politely correct me in the Discord or through email,
doesn't have to be that polite.
well, I would prefer it, but that's true.
The emails come to me. I'm checking the emails.
That's
if
right.
they're rude, I can take it.
That's right. We'll put it on Patrick. He'll filter it out.
Right.
But anyways, I want to get people's names right.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mesa Ace, for last week. And this week, we're going to guess the movie based on emojis. This is a BuzzFeed quiz.
Will we link to this quiz in the episode description?
We absolutely can.
We absolutely can.
Although I don't know what the point would be because we're going to reveal the answers as we do this.
Sure. Maybe you want to inflict it on somebody. Skip ahead 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So the thing here is that it's emojis communicating
the title of a movie.
Did I say emojis?
I'm not sure.
I feel like I went insane just then.
Yeah.
Okay, so first we're going to describe what we see. And Mark, the first one, we're seeing a bunch of green dresses.
And I'm going to guess that it's like 27 dresses.
I'm going to say that as well.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, this is a quiz where it's not multiple choice. We have to type it in, but we are correct.
Okay, great.
It is 27 dresses.
Next one, there's a woman with brown hair. She's wearing a crown, and there's a notebook next to her. That's got to be the Princess Diaries.
It has to be the Princess Diaries. Sorry, it's taking me a second to type these out.
It's okay.
Okay, we are correct. We're doing good.
Mark, you want to describe the next one?
Yeah, it's a mermaid emoji, but it's very tiny.
It's so tiny.
One might even say it's a Little Mermaid.
One might even say it is the Little Mermaid.
Oh yeah, let's see if I just type. Okay, they're graceful. I said, or they're full of grace because I said Little Mermaid, and they accepted that.
Okay, great. Next one is the just man face emoji, but it's like the yellow one, right?
Yes.
So not picking a race, and then a bear, and then two beers together. Do you think this is Ted? I think it's possible.
I think you're right. It is Ted.
It's not trying to communicate the title, but the essence of
it
the movie.
has to be Ted. You're right. It is Ted.
Great.
Okay, the next one is the ghost emoji, the one where it's like sticking its tongue out. Skull and bones, a film camera, and then the laughing face.
Like the crying laughing.
The crying laughing. Scary movie?
Could be Scary Movie, could be Scream, could be...
What's like the laughing part?
The Skull and Crossbones camera laughing almost makes me think Jackass.
Oh, but what's the ghost?
The ghost doesn't make any sense. Ghost, death, camera laugh.
Well, let's just guess.
Try Scary Movie.
Okay,
I think Scary Movie's the best bet, and then...
But we were right. It is Scary Movie.
Great.
I think that was a bad one.
I think that's a bad one, too.
Two sunglass faces, a black square, a gun pointing towards the black square. I don't know if that's important. A rocket ship, an alien, and like
a space invader.
This
is Men in Black.
Okay.
I mean, it's the two sunglass guys.
No, I think you're right.
X-Files. Could be X-Files.
No, you're right.
Okay.
I think you're right. It is. It's Men in Black. I don't understand the two different types of aliens.
I don't
feels excessive to me.
I don't either.
The next one is Night at the Museum. I'm not even going to explain the emojis.
Yeah, it's like a night and then like a building, like a classical building with like columns and then a flashlight and then the like Maori giant head and then a monkey. So yeah, that's definitely Night at the Museum.
All right. Up next is two different types of trees, a ping pong paddle with ball,
shrimp, and then the running emoji 3 times. It's Forrest Gump.
Oh, yes.
The 2 trees is for Forrest, and then ping pong, running.
You're right.
And,
you're absolutely
and shrimp.
right.
That's got to be Forrest Gump.
Okay, the next
We're
one.
We're good at this game.
The next one is a woman with a female child, and then a bride, and then a interrobang, and then 3 men with 3 little
each
children.
One with their own daughter. This is Mamma Mia.
Oh my gosh!
Because
of course,
it's the woman trying to figure out
you are
which of the 3 guys is her father.
You're right. It is
Mamma Mia. The day of her wedding. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, final one.
Yeah.
Ghost, woman running, and then woman deadlifting, powerlifting.
Ghost, run, lift.
Ghost, run, lift.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Ghost. Right? It's not the movie Ghost.
I don't think so.
It's not the movie 13 Ghosts.
I don't know.
That would just be the Ghost
that
emoji 13 times. Ghost emoji, woman running.
Oh,
no, we're running out of time, Mark.
Okay. I'm stumped by this
I'm
one.
stumped by this one
Okay,
too.
I'm just gonna put something in
Okay.
to find out what the answer is. Oh, I give up. Oh, it's Paranormal Activity. I think that was a very bad. Well, I guess I haven't seen Paranormal Activity, so there's a lot of deadlifting in there.
I haven't seen 27 Dresses, but we got that one right away. Mark, we were accompanied today by an ensemble at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix. Let's get into the news.
Hey, you may have heard that there was a Nintendo Direct last week. So here's some follow-up, some additional things that we learned after the Direct. So Birdo was announced as a new driver coming to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as part of Booster Course Pass Wave 4.
Very cool.
This is the first new character addition to the game as part of the DLC, but according to Nintendo's official recap of the Direct, it's not going to be the last. Quote, returning characters from the Mario Kart series will be added in future waves.
Which brings the following question, Mark. What characters from previous Mario Kart games would you
who's
like to...
missing?
I have a list.
Oh, perfect.
There, first of all, before I dig into the list, there are an absurd number of characters in Mario Kart Tour. And a lot of them are like holiday specific, Mario Santa, and then just also like the normal characters in different outfits. And
Dr. Goomba Tower?
I don't think Dr. Goomba Tower is in there yet. But maybe he will be. But I mean, there's like a reindeer Yoshi, there's a kangaroo Yoshi, there's the Kitsune Luigi, and just like on and on and on. So I'm not going to dig into the Mario Kart Tour ones because that is like we would be talking about this for an hour. So maybe it's its own episode. I don't know. But so here's who we're missing. Okay. Originally appearing in Super Mario Kart on the Super NES. And not since Donkey Kong Jr.
Okay.
He is in Tour, but look, we're discounting Tour for this, okay? We just have to. Next is Birdo. Obviously, Birdo was in Double Dash, also appeared on the Wii. We are getting Birdo coming up in this next set. The next character that has that exact same profile appeared on both the Wii and the Double Dash is Diddy Kong.
Oh.
Diddy Kong not in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Then there's the Koopa Paratroopa, who is not in the Wii version, but he is in Double Dash. And ditto Petey Piranha also has that same profile.
Interesting.
Okay. So there's those characters. Then beyond that, there's Rob the Robot. Has not been in the game since the DS version, is the only one that he appears in. Funky Kong, who's in the Wii version.
Nice.
And nowhere else. Yeah, nice, right? And then both in Mario Kart 7, the Honey Queen, so that giant bee that you climb around on in Mario Galaxy, and the Wiggler, the like caterpillar enemy. Are both playable characters in Mario Kart 7.
I've never played Mario Kart 7. Oh, that's fun. I didn't know the Wiggler was a playable character.
Playable character.
The Queen Bee, that is random.
That it is. It's wild, and like she's huge. But so those are the playable characters that have appeared in the console and handheld games. Is there any of those that jump out to you as like obvious candidates?
For whatever reason, I feel like Nintendo is like ashamed of Donkey Kong Jr.
Yeah,
like,
we're never seeing him again.
Yeah, so I don't think so. I think Diddy Kong would be fun. That'd be really fun.
I would like to see Diddy Kong and Funky Kong and them take a track from Diddy Kong Racing and put it in. The wheels are the locks are off the gate. Anything could happen. Anything could happen.
Also, I want to see that big fat bee.
I want to see that big fat bee. Mark, would you also like to know the characters that have appeared in the arcade version that have never been on the home or handheld?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So there's Pac-Man in the original arcade GP, Miss Pac-Man also in the original arcade GP, which of course they can't even use the name Miss Pac-Man anymore for legal reasons. And then Blinky, one of the ghosts from Pac-Man, also in GP. In arcade GP 2, there's a Mamechi, which is like a fully grown Tamagotchi.
Wait,
is one of the playable
That's
characters.
Really funny. The arcade game must have been developed by Bandai Namco.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's right. And then in the arcade GP DX, the third version of the arcade game. Don-chan, the Taiko Drum from Taiko Drum Master, is a playable racer in the arcade version.
That is amazing.
So I'm hoping for Don-chan. He's mine.
Yeah, you main the Don-chan. I'm gonna main that Big Fat B, and we'll be set.
Perfect. Really, I want Donkey Kong Jr., but I can accept that it's never.
I don't know what Donkey Kong Jr. did, but Nintendo is like ashamed.
He's definitely been canceled for sure.
Yeah. So, of course, also Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games were announced for Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. With the Nintendo 64 games, at least to this point, we've gotten generally one a month that has been the schedule that they're on. And during the Direct, they announced upcoming Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games that would be added to the system in the future, but didn't set a particular schedule. And so
they didn't set a schedule. They didn't set a schedule for the Nintendo 64 either.
They just said now through whenever,
right?
And then it just happened they were coming out once a month.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And there was the 2 Mario parties.
There were the 2 Mario parties
in November,
right?
But no, Nintendo has clarified that there's no set schedule for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance libraries. So we know that they will get additions in the future, but we don't know exactly when. This is the state that we're in with the NES and Super NES games on Nintendo Switch Online as well. Although they haven't, there's no like roadmap for those, but they just tend to add games to them occasionally with no rhyme or reason.
It has been a little while since they've
done
those.
Actually. Now that you mentioned that.
I also feel like they're probably, although we got Genesis games not that long ago, maybe in December, right? But it's possible that they're done adding those. I really hope that that's the approach that they're taking, at least with the Game Boy, where it's like, here's 3 or 4 games like at a time. I think that would really be cool and sort of necessary to like fill out that library.
This is something a little tangential to the Direct itself, but there's regularly speculation online. We have talked about it on this show before. That Nintendo sometimes finishes games and then like sits on them for months, maybe years, until they think it's the right time to release them.
Until they warm them enough and they can be hatched.
So one interesting data point to this talk is that now, and I guess really it's the reason it's speculation is because Nintendo's never come out and said they do it, but all signs point to yes, this is a practice that they have. But one interesting data point to kind of like reconfirms that is that now that Metroid Prime Remastered is released, we can see on the German Games Rating Board, USK, on their website when it was classified, and it was classified back in July of 2021.
Wow!
So it's possible that the game has been finished for over a year
and a half, basically,
and is just releasing now. Similarly, Fire Emblem Engage was classified by the USK in August of 2021.
Right, and there are rumors going back that since it was like being worked on by a separate team at Intelligent Systems, that it was actually done way closer to the release of Three Houses, and it was just like they knew it's mania to release 2 Fire Emblem games next to each other, and so they just like held it, and so here we are, like 4 years later, the game actually comes out.
Wild. The Etrian Odyssey Origins Collection, which are HD remakes of the first 3 Etrian Odyssey games, was announced for Switch at the Direct. After the announcement, the Etrian Odyssey team at Atlus shared a message on the official website, and according to the translation by Persona Central, the team said that these remakes came about in their research for a new game on new hardware, and that they wanted fans to have an opportunity to play these games as they're no longer accessible on new hardware. But they also write that they appreciate fans' patience for a new game. One was announced not that long into the Switch's life cycle that a new Etrian Odyssey was in development.
Shades of Metroid Prime,
but we haven't seen anything. But they say that they appreciate patience for a new game, and that the move to new hardware has been complicated since they're losing the dual screen capabilities that made the series possible in the first place.
Right.
But that they intend to take feedback from the HD remakes into account for this new game that they're working on.
Very cool to, and I guess like that is one of the things that I worry about and we talk about from time to time, is that like Nintendo had committed to a 2-screen experience across 3 different platforms for like a decade, which means there's a bunch of software that is designed for that experience. And sometimes it's easily excised. You don't need a big honk button in the middle of your touchscreen controller. But sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes you really need to like find the workaround to make the game still work. And it's nice to see that even like this is obviously isn't coming from Nintendo, but that like other people are thinking about that and working towards modernizing the vision for their old games and then bringing that same modernization to whatever form the series takes after that.
Yeah, you've got to feel bad for the Etrian Odyssey team.
You gotta.
Because it's like, the entire crux of our game is that you draw the map on the bottom screen, and now they have to figure out a way to make that work on like a TV, and they have a solution. It'll just be interesting to see how it takes.
And like I called it out in the direct as like sort of odd, but like they say there's an auto mapping feature, which like to my mind just makes it like all video game. Like it takes the special thing and like throws it away. But you know, if maybe it turns out that was getting in the way, or like who knows?
Yeah.
But it is cool that they were. Like working on it for themselves, so they knew how to make a new Etrian Odyssey game, but also are doing this for like consumers to familiarize themselves with it on this new platform.
When The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom opened for pre-orders after the Direct, it was confirmed that the game would be $69.99 in the United States, which is the first Nintendo game at that price. Game Informer got Nintendo on the record about the price increase, and if it was something we should expect for all Nintendo first-party games going forward. The responses are hilariously
terse.
But so Game Informer Game Informer asked on the reasoning for the $69. They inquired on the reasoning for the $69.99 price tag for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and the response they got was, quote, "We determined the suggested retail price for any Nintendo product on a case-by-case basis." Okay, fair enough, totally. This one made me laugh really hard. On if this trend, or if this is the trend for Nintendo titles going forward, the response is, no. We determined the suggested retail price for any Nintendo product on a case-by-case basis, which, if you are listening, is the exact same response as their first one, just with the word no,
period, in front of it. I mean, this is the quintessential we have nothing to announce at this time, right? Where it's like, we're charging more for this game because we can charge more for this game because we think it's worth more. And does that mean that that's what's going to happen in the future? I'm only telling you about this game.
Right.
And I mean, we both mentioned last week that like we don't see this as a big deal. It's at a point where you're spending $60, $70's not that much different. And you know, it's funny to see it happening at the same time as like reactions to the Direct and you know, the reveal of the collector's edition and all of that. That in the same breath, there are people being like, $70 is too expensive for this game. I wish it was $60. I wish I was saving $10 here. And then other people being like, I can't wait to spend $130 on this collector's edition. Which, you know, it's just, I mean, different amounts of money mean different things to different people, of course. But it doesn't feel catastrophic to me that the game is $10 more.
Well, I think one thing that is just interesting, I guess just some other notes on this, is that variable pricing on Nintendo games has been standard outside of North America for quite some time. And so like in Japan and Europe, different games cost different amounts, and that's just kind of been the standard for a while. Also, Pikmin 4 can be pre-ordered for $60. So, and Metroid Prime Remastered is $40.
So it seems like they're true to their word on at least like Pikmin's not going to be $70.
Yes, for now. I truly think that all bets are off come next generation of hardware. I think $70.
2025.
I think $70 becomes like the standard for a Nintendo first-party game, and I do think that they'll continue to play with the scale. We saw it with the WarioWare game on Switch.
Yep.
You know, we have seen it with Nintendo Switch Sports. So I do think that they, like you said, like have been messing around with variable pricing, and that this really isn't anything new. It's just the first time that we've seen a game go over that kind of like $60 barrier.
Yep. Well, yes, in modern times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you look at like the historical data, Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo games were so expensive because they needed, they would make these enormous games that would use these really expensive carts because they needed to just like pack that much memory and like physical memory in there. So,
and don't get me wrong, I'm not excited to pay $70. Like, I'm not like
I am. I'm like, that feels good to spend $70.
Yeah, I'm not like cheering it.
No, but it seems like an inevitability.
It does,
right?
Yeah. It feels inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, last week, not Nintendo Direct related, Nintendo released their financial results for the quarter ending December 31st, 2022.
Revealing they need your $70 so badly.
Yeah, so Switch is now the third best-selling gaming system of all time, with over 122 million units sold. The PlayStation 2 and Nintendo DS are the two systems ahead of it. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
They're at like 155 and 165 plus, something like that.
They're both around like 150 to 160.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
So still astronomically high numbers, but it is no longer like, to me, outside the realm of possibility. I'm doing my part. I bought a Switch.
That's right.
I bought a Switch last week. For me, like I wonder if they're going to overtake the DS.
Yeah, I wonder.
And PS2.
I wonder as well. I feel like it just kind of depends on how long the Switch stays on the market.
Absolutely, and how they count whatever the next Switch.
Yeah,
is.
that's true. That's true.
Because the Game Boy, it just recently passed the Game Boy / Game Boy Color, so like that's already sort of using like 2 generations worth of like sort of of stuff and counting it as one.
Also, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which launched in November of last year, has sold over 20 million copies. It's already the 4th best-selling Pokemon game in the series, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, and even on the backs of the performance of the game not being super great, doesn't seem to matter.
No, a really weird reception where like on a technical level, like frame rate and all that kind of stuff, not that well received, but on a gameplay level, people really liked it.
You and I sort of like saw the release of the new Pokemon game come and go. I don't think at any point either of us were like, "Yeah, I'm going to pick it up." I think we were both just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. We're okay." Have you thought about like looping back to it at any point, or does it feel like the mania has passed? You got through the moment, and it's not going to happen.
I feel like, as a very casual Pokemon fan, I picked up the last 2 generations on release and played through, well, for Sun and Moon. For Moon, I'm pretty sure I beat it, and then for Sword and Shield, I didn't get that far, maybe like 5 or 7 hours.
Oh, I thought you had beaten Sword and Shield.
I don't think so.
I think you're describing my experience with Sword and Shield.
Okay, maybe that could be true.
Who knows?
Maybe I did beat it. I genuinely can't remember. But basically what it comes down to is like, no, there's always a Pokemon. There's a new Pokemon generation on the horizon, not that far away.
Right.
So I don't think I will. How about you?
I don't know. I do think about it sometimes. I wish. See, this is where I sort of wish the old version of the Pokemon Company's like old method of operating, where a year or 2 after the original release, they would put out like a third version that sort of like combines stuff, which could be just like a refined version of the game for the same price. I don't really want to buy the original version and pay for DLC to like get the refined version. So yeah, I mean, if they're going to do what they did last time, I'm probably not.
I was trying to think what the combination of Scarlet and Violet would be. Just brown? Pokemon Mud?
I mean, but the games aren't like it's not Pokemon Purple, right? It's yellow.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, Patrick, that's a strong point.
Thank you.
In a call with investors after the financial release, every question asked in the Q&A of Nintendo leadership had to do with Nintendo Switch hardware and software sales starting to slow down. Because in this last quarter, or maybe the last 9 months combined, both hardware and software were down about 20% compared to the previous year. And so everybody was asking about that slowdown, the cause of the slowdown, and how the company plans to counter it. And really, all the answers seem to boil down to 3 things. One is increase awareness and engagement with evergreen titles for people picking up the Switch now. So basically, what Furukawa is saying is that, you know, people who are buying a Switch today, they have a completely different library from people who bought Switches in 2018 or 2019, yes. And making people aware of these older Nintendo titles, like, hey, did you play Breath of the Wild? You know, did you pick up Kirby Star Allies? And trying to increase the sales of older titles that way is keeping people in the loop about what is available.
They got to move some copies of ARMS.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Another pillar in these three is new software.
Yep.
Okay. And then third is increasing exposure to Nintendo outside of games to create a sort of like Halo effect, which Nintendo has talked about a lot. Like, this is not a new strategy at all. You have the Super Mario Brothers movie opening in April, which is clearly very important to their future plans.
Right, and had like a spot during the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah,
like, and it was like a real like a so that's the actually I'm saying this, I don't actually know if this is where the clip comes from, but like the commercial where they're like doing the Super Mario Bros. Super Show rap, that was a Super Bowl spot, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So like they're positioning at a very American sporting event, a very American interpretation of the Super Mario Brothers as a like entertainment property / nostalgia play at the Super Bowl, right? Like it's positioned front and center. They're betting a lot on it, and it's like clear that it is a big pillar of what they're moving forward with.
This is a total sidebar.
Yeah.
But do you think that clip was created specifically for the Super Bowl and is not in the film? Because if it is from like the Super Show,
yeah,
I'm guessing there's a lot of the worldwide audience for this movie that has no like reference for it.
Right. Well, and it also like can't be a clip from the movie, because there's like a part where it just like lingers on the screen with a phone number and a website to go to, and those things in and of themselves are promotional things for the movie, right? The website is, you know, you can try to like book an appointment for the Mario Brothers to come out and check your plumbing. If you call the phone number, it's Charlie Day's Luigi like telling you that they're backed up or whatever. So like it's yeah, it may not be in the movie. Like parts of it might be, but like this thing is a Super Bowl ad for the movie.
So going back to what we were talking about,
yeah.
So Super Mario Brothers movie, very important to Nintendo. Super Nintendo World, like we talked about, has already opened in Japan, is going to be opening in Hollywood later this week.
But doesn't open for real until we show up.
That's right. That's right. So that is like their third way that they talk about here of continuing, you know, to sell Switches, to sell hardware, is people, maybe lapsed gamers, people haven't played for a long time, or kids go to Super Nintendo World, they go see this new Mario movie and are very excited, and then they want a Switch. They want, you know, the latest Mario game or old Mario games or whatever is available to them.
So, well, and there's so much that is available right now, and so much that like there's the idea of this like the evergreen content, but there's also the legacy content, which is becoming very easy to access if you have a Switch. And you play for Nintendo Switch Online, you get 3 months of it for free when you buy a Switch. Like the appeal of the NES, Super NES, and Game Boy libraries, I don't think should be discounted. Like you can play Tetris, Game Boy Tetris, basically for free when you get a new Switch,
and you can rewind your mistakes 30 seconds,
which is nuts. No one should have that ability to do that in Tetris. I'm against the whole thing now. Throw it all out.
So as part of the Q&A, Nintendo President Shintaro Furukawa, answering one of these questions, calls this uncharted territory for the company.
Uncharted territory.
Quote, Nintendo Switch is coming up on its 7th year of sales in March, which, this is Mark talking, crazy that it's been 7 years. And we see this as uncharted territory in the history of our dedicated video game platforms. Under these circumstances, it is hard to imagine that hardware sales will continue to grow at the same pace they have to date. However, there are titles under development for Nintendo Switch, and new titles will continue to be proposed going forward. We are seeing both new demand and multiple system demand for the hardware, so we think that we think there is still room for growth in sales. To that end, we want to maintain a high level of engagement with the hardware and create new demand, not only by releasing new titles, but also by working further to convey the appeal of existing titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nothing like really surprising there. Kind of like as a corollary to this, a couple of weeks ago in a news episode, we talked about a report from Bloomberg that indicated Nintendo was looking to increase their Switch production this upcoming fiscal year compared to the current year. And but the report also said that Nintendo was on track to meet their original goal of selling 21 million Switches this fiscal year, instead of their revised 19 million estimate. But at the earnings release, Nintendo actually revised down their estimate this year to 18 million Switches. So kind of like what to make of the Bloomberg report. It's possible it's just wrong.
Right. And it's also possible that like numbers get revised all the time and the market is volatile and it's tough to anticipate consumer behavior.
Also, comments by Furukawa seem to indicate that Nintendo isn't considering a price drop, and
makes sense.
No real sign of a new like Switch successor on the horizon. So probably not accounting for new hardware at this point.
I mean, I will refer us to our earlier conversation months ago at the reveal of the PSVR 2 price of $550. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is what hardware costs now. We're locked into old pricing for PlayStation 5, old pricing for the Xbox Series X and S, and old pricing for the Switch. We're like, it's not common for an existing piece of hardware to go up in price with no change to what it is. But like we've gone through,
but it did for the PlayStation 5 in areas that aren't.
Yes, that's right.
North America, they did raise the price.
They did raise the price.
I think Xbox hasn't, but there are like persistent rumors that they're going to.
Right. And the like Oculus or Meta Quest 2 did raise its price $100. So like they're. What we have like sort of locked in our minds is like the price of these machines, about $500, $300 for something like the Switch. That's old data. And the next time we see the new Switch, the PlayStation 6, the Xbox, who knows, because it's impossible to predict what they're going to do with this stuff, the prices are just going to be higher than what we've been dealing with.
I've never thought about it that way, but you're totally right. Basically, what Furukawa is saying, what Nintendo is doing is by not raising the price, they're giving people a price cut.
Kinda. I mean, like that actually is the reality. That it like functionally costs less
by staying the same.
By staying the same, it's the same as like if you didn't get a raise this last year, you got your wages have been reduced effectively, because inflation has had this effect on the value of the dollar.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's I am very interested to see what the next generation of and who knows when that happens, right? It could, years from now. But like, yeah, the next Switch is going to be at least $400.
Yeah,
like get used to that idea now. And 4 is probably low. Like $450 or $500 is probably what we should be expecting.
Man, I think you're right. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
The Pokemon Company is included in the exhibitor list for PAX East 2023. Taking place between March 23rd and March 26th in Boston. No word on what will be playable from the company.
Interesting.
But so, I mean, maybe just Scarlet and Violet. But we usually get a Pokemon Presents sometime towards the beginning of the year that lays out basically what is going to be happening in Pokemon for the year. So maybe we'll know more before the end of March.
Yeah, and you know, the Pokemon Company had a wild like 13 months with the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Arceus, and then Scarlet and Violet. So like they put out a lot of content in not a ton of time. So
and
like
just a few months before, I mean, you're totally right. And just a few months before that was New Snap, right? Was that all? Was that just a little bit?
New Snap was
like, that years ago at this point?
I think that was a year before that. I think New Snap was 2021.
I think you're right now that you're saying that. Glad I interrupted you for that.
There should be a music cue for that. But yeah, it's, and you know, they're always putting stuff out. But I wonder if there's like ever a breathe moment for the Pokemon Company. What's it look like, Mark? What year did new Pokemon Snap come out?
You know what? It's not. It's not
2020,
important. It's
isn't
like
it?
April of 2020. It's 2021.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think. And then finally, the most recent Splatoon 3 Splatfest wrapped up on Sunday, and it was a 3-way battle between Dark, Milk, and White Chocolate. But it was a clean sweep for White Chocolate, including being the most popular team. So it ended up winning all of the points possible.
Mm-hmm.
But the actual battles were pretty close, which is fun to see. Like, it was pretty evenly split. White Chocolate did win each category, but it was only by a couple of percentage points.
Okay, so help me figure out what's going on here. Because I refuse to believe that we live in a world where the plurality of players of any game on any platform among any population prefer white chocolate to dark and milk chocolate.
So I think you're right. However, I do think we live in a world where a plurality of people, players on any game, like to be contrary.
That is true. I think we also live in a society where a plurality of players of Splatoon 3 want to support whichever team Big Man represents. Because I think the other two are charming goblins, but goblins nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
And then Big Man is like a manta ray.
Yep.
Who's like,
you just want to be hugged by him.
Yeah, he's like 5 times the size of the rest of them. Like, they can't give you a good hug. He's going to wrap his wings around you twice. Are they wings? They're fins. They got to be fins.
They're fins. Although they're like attached to, like, he is, manta rays are they just one giant fin?
Wait. No, it's like they're like two. They're like the side fins on a fish, but it's just 2 of them, right?
But they're like, it's attached to its body. It's just like a trapezoid.
Yeah, but like it's got bones and stuff. Like, what do you think?
We're not going to be able to solve.
Do you
this,
think
Patrick.
the bones are like a kite? Like,
maybe I do. Prove me wrong, Patrick.
I'm not going to do that.
Prove me wrong.
All right, let's get out of the news. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nincart Society. You can also check out the Discord. All you got to do is email us, and we will invite you in. The email address is Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
Anthony DeLuca made our logo, and our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.